Just take a look around you for a second. The building you're in, the street outside, the very city you live in, they're pretty much all built from the same stuff. But what if I told you that the most common material of all has this massive hidden cost, one we're only just now starting to really grapple with? Okay, let's just start with a number. 8%. What on earth could possibly be responsible for such a huge chunk of global emissions? It's a pretty staggering figure when you think about it. Yep, you're seeing that right. It's cement, the key ingredient that makes concrete, well, concrete. That one single material is one of the biggest climate hurdles we have to overcome. So, the big question is, what are we going to do about it? To figure out where we're going, we first have to understand the problem, right? So why is this boring gray powder, this stuff that's literally everywhere, such a huge polluter? This chart really gets to the heart of it. We always talk about concrete's carbon footprint, but look closely. It's not the sand, it's not the gravel. The data is crystal clear. The vast, vast majority of those emissions come from just one ingredient, the cement. And the real problem inside the cement has a name, clinker. To make this stuff, you have to cook limestone in these massive kilns at unbelievably high temperatures. That process does two things. One, it uses an insane amount of energy, and two, it chemically releases tons of carbon dioxide that was locked away inside the rock. You're basically unlocking ancient carbon and sending it straight into the atmosphere. And our dependence on this stuff, it's just mind-blowing. I mean, look at this. This is the budget for just one company, Austria's national road operator. They spent almost €500 million every single year just on maintenance. That is a colossal amount of concrete. Now, imagine that, but for every road, bridge, and building on the entire planet. Okay, so if we can't just stop using concrete tomorrow, what's the plan? Well, the first and most obvious solution is to make the concrete we're already using a whole lot smarter and cleaner. And this isn't some far-off theory. It is happening right now on some of the biggest construction projects in the world. Take the Grand Paris Express, for example. It's a huge 200-kilometer metro expansion in France, and they're basically using it as a giant, real-world laboratory for low-carbon building materials. And why there? Well, because when they looked at the numbers for a project this massive, they found that concrete alone was responsible for up to 52% of the entire structure's carbon footprint. That's more than everything else combined, which of course makes it a huge target for improvement. And this is where it gets really promising. Just by tweaking the recipe, by swapping out some of that high-emission clinker for industrial byproducts like slag from steel mills, they figured out they could cut the project's total impact by around 13%. It's a huge win using tech that is ready to go right now. So, making better concrete is a fantastic first step. It's absolutely necessary. But it's still about doing less bad. What if we could flip the entire script? What if our buildings didn't just emit less carbon, but actually pulled it out of the air? This brings us to the next frontier, a whole new class of building materials that are literally grown, not made. Materials that could turn a building from a carbon source into a carbon sink. Let's start with hempcrete. It's made from the woody part of the hemp plant, mixed with a lime binder. Now, it's not for foundations, but it is an amazing insulator. And here's the magic trick. The hemp plant sucks up so much CO2 as it grows that the final product is actually carbon negative. It stores more carbon than it took to make it. And this diagram shows you exactly how. First, the plant breathes in CO2 from the atmosphere. That carbon gets locked into the hempcrete blocks. But then, and this is the cool part, over its life inside the wall, the lime binder keeps absorbing even more CO2 from the air. It's an incredible cycle. All right, here's another game changer for you. Biochar. You can think of it as a kind of high-tech charcoal made from waste. When you add a bit of this stuff to concrete, two amazing things happen. First, it actually makes the concrete stronger and more durable. And second, it permanently locks away the carbon from that biomass inside the walls of the building. You're literally building with captured carbon. Now, I know this all might sound a little like science fiction, but it's not. It's already happening. Let's take a look at how these incredible materials are being used in the real world to create something truly revolutionary. So check this out. This is a 4-story apartment building in Vindout, Switzerland. On the left, you can see its skeleton, a beautiful timber frame. And on the right, the finished building. This is the region's very first CO2 neutral multifamily home, and it is an absolute masterpiece of sustainable building. Let's peek under the hood, shall we? The ceilings are made of these amazing hollow timber boxes filled with clay, which naturally helps control the temperature and humidity. And get this, the whole thing is reinforced with reused steel beams. It's the largest steel reuse project in all of Switzerland. Every single material here was chosen to have the smallest possible impact. And here's the payoff. The numbers don't lie. The plant-based materials alone actively store 750 tons of CO2. Reusing materials saves another 120 tons. You combine that with clean energy, and over its 60-year life, the building's net carbon footprint is 0. That's right, it completely cancels out its own impact. Just incredible. Okay, so a single amazing building is one thing, but how do we scale this thinking up? How do we use these ideas to build not just green buildings, but entire green cities? It really comes down to a few core principles. We need cities that are more dense and walkable. We need to practice what's called biophilia, literally weaving nature back into our cities with parks and green roofs. And you support all of that with high-performance buildings, just like the one we saw, connected by equally efficient infrastructure. And this isn't just some local architectural trend. This is a global mission. These ideas feed directly into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is all about creating cities and communities that are safe, resilient, and sustainable for every single one of us. And that really brings us to a fundamental shift in how we think about all this, which is summed up perfectly in this quote. For decades, we've been obsessed with the material, but the point was never just to pour concrete. It was to build a home or a bridge. The real goal is the structure. And that thought just blows the whole conversation wide open. If we focus on the goal, on strong, sustainable structures, we suddenly realize we have this incredible new toolbox of materials to work with. We can make our old materials better, and we can embrace brand new ones grown from nature itself. The tools are here. The only question left is, what will we choose to build our future with?